On the evening of January 12, 2015, Lindsay Gardner left her home with her 13-month-old daughter, Hailey. She told her husband that she would spend the night at her parents' house to be closer to her workplace in the morning. They got into their car and disappeared into the darkness. The time was around 11:30 p.m. The next morning, at 9:15, a female witness called 911 to report a damaged vehicle that had crashed into trees.
Forward Police, operator K10, what address are you calling about?
Hi, I am at 6801 Dirks Road. There is a car that has went off the road. I don't know have anybody here yet, and I can't go and see if they're okay because I have my son in the car and they went through the fence. Now there's a cop right down the street, and I don't know if he's coming this way or not. He's kind of in the Goodwill parking lot.
Okay, what color is the car?
It's like a gold four-door sedan. It's hit a tree. I don't know how long it's been there. It's behind some brush. It's kind of difficult to see.
Okay, so you didn't see the accident happen, you just see the car down?
I didn't see it, no. Okay. No, it caught my eye because it's like against a tree. And there's a cop like probably 100 yards from me. There he comes, 845.
During the call, the witness flagged down a nearby police officer and directed him to a gold Toyota Camry. Upon inspecting the car, the officer found no one inside. However, Lindsay's wallet, containing her ID, was still in the vehicle. The officer assumed the driver had fled the scene and left shortly after. About 2 hours later, a maintenance worker arrived in the area to repair a nearby fence and also called 911.
She went through the fence, she went through the barricade and through my fence and through my pasture and jumped the fence and then hit into a dead end to a tree. I didn't even see the accident. And there's a baby seat in the back, so there must have been a baby in the car.
A police officer returned to the crash site to document the scene. He found no signs of blood or injuries inside the car. The driver's door was open, the keys were still in the ignition, and Lindsay's wallet was on the seat. Investigators determined that the vehicle had veered off the road, crossed into the opposite lane, and crashed through a red and white barrier. It then went off-road, broke through a barbed wire fence, entered a cow pasture, and crashed into another tree. A short time later, approximately 170 meters from the vehicle, two bodies were discovered: Lindsay Gardner and her young daughter, Hailey. The bodies were found near a tall fence, both completely unclothed. Lindsay's body was lying face down, covering her daughter's body. Police arrived on the scene and forensic teams began photographing the area and documenting evidence. Inside the car, they found Lindsay's shoes, one of which was wedged under the gas pedal. There were no signs of drugs or alcohol in the vehicle. Nearby, a pile of scattered clothing was found, which was later confirmed to belong to Lindsay and Hailey. Investigators determined that Lindsay likely fell face down while carrying her daughter. Her hands, feet, and knees were covered in dried mud and abrasions. Hailey's body lay perpendicular to her mother's, face up. She also had scratches on her face, back, and legs, as well as bruises on her chest. Despite their efforts, police could not determine the cause of death. No significant injuries were found on the bodies. A drone was used to capture aerial photographs of the area, and their clothing was examined. Red stains were noted on several pieces, but police records do not indicate whether these stains were tested in a laboratory. The bodies of the mother and daughter were sent to the medical examiner to determine the exact cause of death. The coroner concluded that their deaths resulted from hypothermia, including a phenomenon called paradoxical undressing. Paradoxical undressing occurs in cases of severe hypothermia when a person experiences extreme heat and starts removing their clothes. Toxicology reports came back negative, with no traces of alcohol or drugs in their blood. However, even today, many questions about this case remain unanswered. Lindsay's husband, Anthony Gardner, later stated in an interview that he didn't understand why she was in that area, as it was the opposite direction from her parents' home, where she supposedly intended to stay that night. The exact cause of the crash was never determined. One of the most probable theories suggests that the gas pedal became stuck, causing uncontrolled acceleration of the car. The car Lindsay was driving was a 1996 Toyota Camry. According to reports, this model had been recalled due to a significant defect in the accelerator cable, which led to failures. Many drivers suffered severe injuries, and up to 100 deaths were reported in the U.S. Toyota became the subject of a lawsuit. It's likely that the gas pedal jammed, causing the car to gain speed uncontrollably. In such a situation, drivers have three options: use the emergency brake, shift the gear into neutral, or turn off the ignition. However, for drivers experiencing such sudden acceleration for the first time, it is extremely difficult to react correctly. It's worth noting that one of Lindsay's shoes was found under the gas pedal. Perhaps she tried to bring the pedal back into position by hooking it from behind. Since the crash was ruled an accident, experts did not examine the car. The exact time of the crash was also not established, but another 911 call might provide a clue.
Yes, this is Forest Police Department operator K553. May I help you?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Eric Griffin. I'm a shift supervisor with Stevens Transport Tanker Division. I was talking to one of my night drivers, and he was at that scene last night at about 1:30. He seen the car. He stopped. He looked around. He tried to see if there was anybody in the car. Didn't see nobody, and he thought it was somebody just drunk, wrecked the car, and walked home. I don't know if that information would be helpful for him, but that was at 1:30 this morning.
Based on the available information, it's assumed that the accident occurred between 11:30 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. Considering the distance between Lindsay's house and the crash site was about 2.5 kilometers, the accident could have occurred just minutes after their departure. However, no one reported the accident to the police that night. The first call came in only at 9 a.m. The air temperature that night was between 1 and 2 degrees Celsius. The crash occurred within sight of many residential homes. If the person had acted rationally after the crash, they could have headed to the road or nearby houses for help, which were within walking distance. Instead, Lindsay and her daughter moved into an open field. It's possible Lindsay lost consciousness during the crash, and when she woke up, she was already in the late stages of hypothermia. She exited the car and took her child. After walking a few meters, she removed both her and her daughter's clothes due to this confused state caused by hypothermia. They walked several more dozen meters before collapsing to the ground. It's possible Lindsay suffered a concussion during the crash, which, despite the lack of visible external signs, may have caused her to act irrationally. What's most heartbreaking is that the deceased woman and her young daughter were in distress so close to the road and residential homes. That night, cars passed along the road and people were in their homes. But unfortunately, no one noticed the woman and child in the dark field. In the end, the exact cause of the accident was never determined. Be sure to share your opinion about this story in the comments. If you want more stories like this, don't forget to put a like and subscribe to the channel. We will grow with you. Best wishes to everyone.